Picture this, yeah? It's 11 at night. Somewhere in Bristol, there's a bloke called Oliver sitting at his kitchen table. His laptop's open, his phone's buzzing every 30 seconds. There's 3 half-drunk cups of tea gone cold around him because he keeps making fresh ones and forgetting about them. He's got 17 browser tabs open, 23 unread Slack messages, 41 emails flagged as urgent, a to-do list with 32 items on it that somehow keeps getting longer instead of shorter. And the mental bit? The properly mental bit. Oliver has been working for 14 hours straight. But if you asked him right now, if you genuinely asked what he'd actually accomplished today, he'd struggle to name even one meaningful thing. He's been busy, properly busy, frantically, exhaustingly busy. But productive? Actually moving the needle on anything that matters? Not even slightly. This is Oliver's life now, has been for the past 3 years. 28 years old, works as a project coordinator for a tech startup in Bristol. Dynamic environment, they called it in the interview. Translation, absolute chaos with no structure whatsoever. He wakes up to notifications, falls asleep to notifications, dreams about Slack messages probably. His girlfriend Amy, bless her patience, hasn't had a proper conversation with him in weeks because he's always just quickly checking something. His mates have stopped inviting him out because he cancels last minute 90% of the time. Swamped with work, sorry lads. But here's the thing that keeps Oliver up at night, right? Despite all this busyness, despite working more hours than anyone else he knows, despite his calendar being absolutely rammed, he doesn't feel like he's achieving anything. He feels like he's drowning, like he's running flat out on a treadmill, going absolutely nowhere. And he's starting to suspect, terrifying thought, that he's wasted the last 3 years of his life being busy with things that don't actually matter. But fast forward 18 months from this exact moment. Oliver's working fewer hours, achieving more, got promoted, relationship with Amy is brilliant, sees his mates regularly, sleeps properly for the first time in years. What changed everything? One blog post that led to one book, and one absolutely fundamental shift in how Oliver understood productivity itself. Focus on What Matters by Darius Foroux. And today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how this book saved Oliver from burning out completely, and why it might just save you too. Right, let's get stuck in. Oh, and if you're new round here, welcome, lovely to have you. This channel's all about breaking down the most practical books into stories that actually stick with you. No fluff, no theory for theory's sake, just real transformations from real principles. If that sounds like your sort of thing, hit subscribe, yeah? We're building something proper useful here, and I'd love for you to be part of it. Quick bit of context on this book before we dive back into Oliver's story. Darius Foroux isn't your typical productivity guru. He's not selling you some complex system with 17 steps and a premium course. Dutch bloke, business background, blogs about productivity, but in this really refreshing, no-nonsense way. His core philosophy? Absolutely brilliant in its simplicity. Most of what we do doesn't matter. The key to a productive life isn't doing more, it's doing less, but better. In a world where everyone's obsessed with life hacks, morning routines, and squeezing more into every minute, Foroux says the opposite. Stop. Simplify. Focus on the tiny percentage of activities that actually create results. Eliminate everything else ruthlessly. And Oliver? Oliver was about to discover he'd been playing productivity completely backwards. Right, to understand how Oliver ended up drowning in busyness, we need to rewind a bit. 3 years ago, Oliver landed his first proper job after uni. Project coordinator role. Excited, motivated, ready to smash it. But the company was chaotic. Startup energy without startup focus. Everyone doing everything. No clear priorities. Constant firefighting. Oliver felt overwhelmed immediately, so he did what any modern person does when they're struggling. He went online. How to be more productive, how to manage your time better, how to get more done in less time. And down the rabbit hole he went. Bullet journaling, Pomodoro technique, time blocking, getting things done, Eat That Frog, the 5 a.m. club, Notion templates, productivity apps, habit stacking, deep work blocks. Oliver tried them all. At one point, he was using 7 different productivity apps simultaneously. Notion for notes, Todoist for tasks, Toggle for time tracking, Forest for focus, Headspace for meditation, Rescue Time for monitoring, Evernote for archiving. Here's the properly mad bit though. He was spending an hour and a half each day just maintaining his productivity system, planning his day, reviewing his week, updating his trackers, organizing his notes, moving tasks between apps. He'd become so obsessed with optimizing his productivity that the optimization itself had become the work. His girlfriend Amy noticed it first. They're having dinner, rare occurrence, and Oliver's half-focused, still thinking about whether he should reorganize his Notion workspace or try a new app he'd seen on YouTube. "Ollie," she says, "when's the last time you just did something? Without planning it, tracking it, optimizing it?" He genuinely couldn't remember. But the wake-up call, the proper wake-up call, came 3 months before our story starts. Performance review at work. Oliver's expecting praise. He works harder than anyone, longest hours, most responsive on Slack, always available. His manager, Sarah, lovely woman, pulls him into a meeting room. "Oliver, you're one of the hardest workers we have. Nobody questions your effort." He smiles. "Here comes the promotion." "But we need to talk about your output." The smile fades. "You're involved in everything, but you're not actually delivering much. You're responsive, but you're not productive. You're busy, but you're not effective." That phrase haunts him for weeks, because Sarah's right. Deep down, Oliver knows she's right. He's been confusing motion with progress, activity with achievement, busyness with value, and he's got absolutely no idea how to fix it. 2 weeks after that review, Oliver's doing his usual thing, YouTube rabbit hole at midnight, just researching productivity instead of sleeping. And the algorithm serves him a video titled, "Why I Quit Being Productive." Intriguing title. He clicks. It's a bloke talking about Darius Foroux, specifically about his philosophy of anti-productivity, or rather, productivity redefined. The bloke says something that stops Oliver cold. If you're working on the wrong things, being productive just means you're failing faster. Oliver pauses the video, rewinds, listens again. That night, he finds Darius Foroux's blog, reads for 3 hours straight. One article in particular hits like a freight train. The purpose of life is not to be busy. Foroux writes about the productivity paradox, how the more tools and techniques we adopt, the less productive we often become. How modern productivity culture has made us obsessed with efficiency, but completely lost about effectiveness. How we've learned to be fantastic at doing things quickly, but terrible at choosing which things to do in the first place. Foroux shares his own story, how he once worked 80-hour weeks, juggled multiple projects, optimized every minute of his day, and achieved mediocre results across everything. Burned out, miserable, until he shifted his entire approach. Instead of asking, "How can I fit more in?" he started asking, "What can I eliminate?" Instead of optimizing his time, he started optimizing his priorities. Instead of doing everything adequately, he started doing a few things exceptionally. Oliver reads one particular passage 5 times. We think we need better time management. What we actually need is better priority management. Time is fixed. You get 24 hours, period. But you can choose what fills those hours. The next morning, Oliver orders, "Focus on what matters." arrives 2 days later. He reads it cover to cover that weekend, and by Monday morning, his entire approach to work, to life really, has fundamentally shifted. The first thing Foroux hammers home in the book is the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. Now, Oliver had heard of this before. Everyone has. But he'd never actually applied it properly. The principle states that roughly 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. Foroux's instruction is simple but uncomfortable. Track everything you do for 1 week, then honestly assess which activities actually produced results that mattered. Oliver creates a spreadsheet. Every task, every meeting, every activity gets logged with an honest assessment. Did this create real value, or did it just feel like work? The results are properly devastating. Out of 47 hours of work that week, 14 hours in meetings. Of those, maybe 3 hours were actually necessary or productive. 11 hours on emails and Slack. Most of it either unnecessary or could have been handled asynchronously. 8 hours on admin, updating trackers, organizing files, maintaining systems. 6 hours on projects that his manager later told him weren't even priorities. 5 hours on actual deep work that moved important projects forward. 3 hours helping colleagues with things that weren't his responsibility. 5 hours. Out of 47 hours of feeling busy, stressed, and overwhelmed, only about 5 hours actually mattered. Roughly 10%. Not even close to the 20% that Pareto would suggest. Oliver shows this to Amy that evening. She's not surprised. I could have told you that, love. You're always busy, but half the time I genuinely don't know what you're actually doing. Bit harsh, but fair. Foroux's next instruction: eliminate the 80% ruthlessly, or delegate it, or automate it, or just stop doing it entirely and see if anyone even notices. But focus your best energy on the 20% that actually creates results. This sounds simple, doesn't it? Almost obvious. But here's why most people never do it. Eliminating feels scary. It feels like you're doing less, and we've been conditioned to believe that doing less is bad. Foroux argues the opposite. Do less, but do it so much better that the results are actually greater than when you were scattered across everything. Oliver decides to test this, properly test it. Monday morning, Oliver does something that terrifies him. He blocks out 3-hour chunks in his calendar, labels them deep work, do not disturb. Then he goes through his task list and deletes, not postpones, deletes 23 out of 32 items. The remaining 9 tasks, they're the ones that actually matter according to his manager's priorities, the ones that move meaningful projects forward. Everything else? Either delegated, automated, or just gone. He turns off all Slack notifications, sets his email to only check twice a day, 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. Puts his phone in a drawer. His colleagues notice immediately. Oliver's gone quiet. Is he all right? Sarah, his manager, messages him directly. Ollie, you've blocked out huge chunks of time. What's going on? Oliver's honest with her, explains the 80-20 analysis, shows her the 5 hours of actual productivity versus 47 hours of busyness. He expects pushback, expects her to tell him he needs to be more available, more responsive. Instead, she writes, "Brilliant. I've been wanting you to do something like this for ages. Just make sure those deep work blocks are on the actual priorities we discussed. You've got my full support." That first day is weird, properly weird. Oliver sits in his first deep work block, 3 hours to work on the new client onboarding system, and he's twitchy. The urge to check Slack is intense, to refresh email, to see what he's missing. But he forces himself to stay focused. By the end of those 3 hours, he's accomplished more meaningful work than he typically did in an entire week. The onboarding system framework is done, properly done. Not rushed, not half-finished, not, "I'll come back to this later." Finished. When he finally checks Slack at 11:30, there's 17 messages. And you know what? 15 of them have already been resolved by other people. 2 genuinely needed his input, which he handles in 10 minutes. The world didn't end because he was unavailable for 3 hours. That afternoon, he does it again. Another 3-hour block. Client communication strategy. Another priority project that's been languishing for weeks. Done. By the end of the week, Oliver's completed 4 major deliverables that had been on his to-do list for literally months. His manager, Sarah, is stunned. "What happened to you?" "I stopped being busy," Oliver says. "Started being productive instead." Right, we're at a crucial point in Oliver's transformation, and I want to pause for a quick moment. If this is resonating with you, if you're recognizing yourself in Oliver's scattered, busy but unproductive existence, then smash that subscribe button, yeah? Leave a comment telling me, what's one thing you're doing that's probably in your 80% of waste? What could you eliminate starting tomorrow? I read every single comment, and honestly, the community here is brilliant. People share their struggles, their wins, their experiments with these ideas. We're building something genuinely helpful here, and I'd love for you to be part of it. Right, back to Oliver. Because the transformation's only just beginning. The next major breakthrough comes when Oliver confronts his multitasking addiction. Foroux dedicates an entire chapter to this, and it's properly uncomfortable reading if you're honest with yourself. Here's what the research actually shows, and Foroux cites study after study. Human brains can't actually multitask. What we call multitasking is really just rapid task switching. And every time you switch tasks, there's a cognitive cost. They call it attention residue. When you switch from task A to task B, part of your brain is still thinking about task A. It takes time, sometimes up to 23 minutes according to some studies, to fully engage with the new task. So when you're constantly switching, checking email, then Slack, then working on a report, then answering a question, then checking your phone, you're never actually fully engaged with anything. You're operating at partial capacity all day long. Foroux shares his own rule. One thing at a time. Finish before starting something new. Protect your attention like it's your most valuable resource, because it is. Oliver starts applying this ruthlessly. When he's writing, he closes everything except the document. No email open in the background. No Slack. No music with lyrics. Just him and the work. When he's in a meeting, phone goes away completely. Laptop closed if he doesn't need it for notes. Actually present. Actually listening. When he's having dinner with Amy, phone stays in another room. Properly engaged in the conversation. The difference is remarkable and immediate. Tasks that used to take him 2 hours while multitasking, done in 45 minutes with full focus. Writing that felt like pulling teeth, flows naturally when he's not interrupting himself every 3 minutes. Conversations with Amy, actually enjoyable again because he's not mentally half somewhere else. One evening, about 3 weeks into this experiment, Amy says something that proper hits him. "I feel like I've got my boyfriend back. You're actually here now. Like properly here." Oliver hadn't realized how absent he'd become. Physically present, but mentally scattered across 17 different things. Foroux writes about this. The person who can focus in a world of distractions has a superpower. Not because focus is special, but because distraction has become the default. The third major lesson that transforms Oliver's approach is Foroux's concept of the not-to-do list. Everyone makes to-do lists. We're obsessed with them. Apps, journals, sticky notes, elaborate systems. But Foroux argues that what you don't do is often more important than what you do. He instructs readers to create a not-to-do list, activities, habits, and commitments that you actively refuse to engage with, no matter how urgent they seem. Oliver creates his. Oliver's not-to-do list. 1. No meetings before 10 a.m. or after 4 p.m. 2. No checking email or Slack before completing first deep work block. 3. No saying yes to new projects without removing something else first. 4. No phone during meals or social time. 5. No working weekends unless genuinely critical. Manager approval required. 6. No attending meetings without a clear agenda and purpose. 7. No trying to please everyone. Some people will be disappointed, that's fine. That last one's the hardest. Oliver's a people pleaser by nature. Saying no feels wrong, feels rude. But Foroux makes a crucial point. Every yes to something unimportant is a no to something that matters. Choose your no's wisely so your yeses can be meaningful. The first time Oliver actually uses his not-to-do list, it's terrifying. A colleague asks him to join a new committee. Just a couple hours a month would be great to have your input. Old Oliver would have said yes immediately, couldn't bear to disappoint. New Oliver checks his priorities. This committee? Not aligned with any of his key responsibilities. Not in his 20%. Thanks for thinking of me, but I'm not able to commit to that right now. I'm focusing on delivering the onboarding system and client strategy. His colleague is fine with it. Find someone else. The world continues spinning, and Oliver has protected 2 hours per month that he can now spend on things that actually matter to his goals. Over the next 3 months, Oliver says no more times than he had in the previous 3 years. No to being on 3 WhatsApp groups that just stressed him out. No to social events he didn't genuinely want to attend. No to quick favor requests that weren't quick and weren't his responsibility. And something amazing happens. By saying no to things that don't matter, he creates space to say proper, enthusiastic, committed yeses to things that do. 18 months after that night, sitting at his kitchen table, drowning in tabs and notifications, Oliver's life looks completely different. Before, 50+ hour weeks feeling constantly behind, relationship with Amy suffering, no hobbies, no downtime, no real life outside work. Busy with everything, effective at nothing. Exhausted, stressed, unfulfilled. After, 35 to 40 hour weeks with genuine downtime. Promoted to senior project coordinator. Relationship with Amy stronger than ever, even talking about moving in together. Playing five-a-side football again with his mates every Thursday. Actually reading books for pleasure. Sleeping properly. Genuinely happy. His manager Sarah pulls him aside one day. I don't know what you did, Oliver, but whatever it is, keep doing it. Your output has tripled while you're visibly less stressed. How? Oliver thinks about how to explain it. I stopped trying to do everything, started focusing on what actually creates results. Turns out doing less but doing it properly works better than doing loads but doing it all half-assed. The promotion came 6 months into his transformation, not because he was working longer hours or being more dedicated in the traditional sense, because he was delivering results that mattered, consistently, at a high standard. Projects completed on time, up 200%. Quality of deliverables, significantly improved. Colleague satisfaction scores, higher than ever. Manager feedback, finally delivering strategic value, not just tactical busy work. But the real transformation isn't the promotion or the praise. It's a Tuesday evening. Oliver's at home with Amy. They're cooking dinner together, properly cooking, not just reheating something while he's half distracted. His phone buzzes, work Slack notification. Old Oliver would have grabbed it immediately, responded straight away, let it interrupt the moment. New Oliver glances at it, sees it's not urgent, puts the phone face down. "That can wait," he says. "I'm here right now, with you. This matters more." Amy smiles, kisses him. "I'm proud of you, you know. You figured something out that most people never do." What Oliver figured out is this. Life isn't about doing more, it's about mattering more. And you can't matter if you're spread so thin that you're doing everything adequately and nothing exceptionally. Focus on what matters. Eliminate everything else ruthlessly. That's not just a productivity strategy, that's a life philosophy. So what can you actually take from Oliver's journey? Let me give you the essentials. Identify your 20%. Track everything you do for a week. Honestly assess what creates actual results. Focus there. Eliminate or delegate the rest. Single task ruthlessly. Close the tabs, silence the notifications. One thing at a time with full attention beats 10 things at once with partial attention. Create a not-to-do list. Rules for what you won't do are as important as plans for what you will do. Protect your focus and energy. Busy is not the goal. Results are the goal. Impact is the goal. Mattering is the goal. Busyness is often just the illusion of progress. Say no to protect your yes. Every commitment to something unimportant is a betrayal of something important. Choose wisely. Oliver's story is your story. It's my story. It's basically everyone's story in the modern world. We've been conditioned to believe that productivity means doing more, faster, constantly. But that's not productivity. That's just exhaustion with better branding. Focus on What Matters by Darius Foroux. It's a short book. You could read it in an afternoon, but the principles could transform your entire approach to work and life. Right, that's me done. If this resonated, if you saw yourself in Oliver's overwhelm, drop a like, leave a comment, share this with someone who's drowning in busyness. Tell me, what's one thing you're going to eliminate starting tomorrow? And I'll see you in the next one. Do less, matter more.